On today's episode of Let's Grow Together, I talk with my friend Teresa, and she is amazing. She built a six-figure business during the pandemic. Incredible. We go into all of that, and she's so much more than that. She's a leadership coach. She's been a serial entrepreneur with so many businesses. You're going to love this conversation. She's incredible. She brings the energy like so many of my guests do, but she also opens up, and I love that about that. So, lots of amazing things for you to get value, implement, take action. So, let's dive in. But first, the intro. Welcome to Let's Grow Together. My name is Nick Monotatovus, motivational speaker and digital marketing strategist. And this podcast is all about helping you grow both in life and business. Let's dive in. We are back for another episode, and I am so excited. Yes, love the energy, dancing around. You know that's going to be a good episode when you see that energy already riding through. And it's been so cool because we were talking right before we jumped on, and we had to stop what we were doing to make sure that the stuff we were talking about was recorded. So, Teresa, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited. Been looking
Yeah.
forward to this.
Yes, me too, because it had been so long since we last talked. So I was like, I got to get her on the show. So awesome. So, real quick, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Sure. So my name is Teresa Kwon, and I'm a business growth strategist and leadership coach. I hail out of Austin, Texas, and I love to help people who are very purpose-driven, values-driven, gonna make an impact on the world. And that's entrepreneurs, doers, makers, organizers, all of you who really want to scale without sacrificing your family or your freedom.
Love it. Amazing. It's
Mhm.
so cool. And it's so awesome because as we were just talking, you really are now more official, I will say, an entrepreneur, because it's one thing to start and have a successful business, but now you've gone ahead and done it again.
Yes. Well, actually, this is my fourth business
Oh
now.
my
So
God.
yeah, I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Well, oh my gosh,
Oh.
perfect. So let's start from the beginning then. What was your first business?
Oh, okay. Well, if you want to start with my very, very, very first business, it was when I was a kid. So I used to do, I don't know, I guess I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur now I think about it. But so my parents, ran a convenience store, had like a whole deli and all this stuff. And what I would do is I would ask my parents, can I have a box of candy bars? And what I would do is I would sell them on the block. Like I would invite all the kids after school to my house. Like we play kickball and softball and all that stuff. But then they can also bring 50 cents and buy a candy bar. So that was my very, very first business.
Amazing. Yes. I've heard that before with like people starting. I never did that type of thing. I was hated, I was like nervous about selling stuff. I did
Well,
like
I mean, like I said, I never thought I was an entrepreneur. Just like, thought, why not? My dad's doing it.
there was a time where my brother had to sell candy bars for his baseball team, and for some reason I felt I just grabbed the candy bars and started walking around the neighborhood selling it for him. I had no
See?
gain at all. Yeah.
See?
Which is
That, I
super
mean,
weird.
candy bars kind of sell themselves. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Love
But
it. So
as an adult, I would say my very first business was really in the like life coaching arena. Part of my background is, and I don't always share this, but actually I used to be in a pastoral leadership capacity. And so I would always be mentoring women and etc. But then it would be outside of the church. And so there were women that were looking for career and life coaching. And so I used to do life coaching. That was my very first adult business in my 20s. Then I started a consulting business, really focusing on for-purpose organizations like social enterprises, which was really new when I was doing it, and nonprofits when I was in graduate school. And that was like 2008, actually right when the recession happened. That actually morphed into so I guess technically this would be my fifth business. My third business would be after that, is that then I started focusing on leadership consulting. And I was working with global organizations, Fortune 500, Fortune 200, startups, etc., organizational management, etc. And then that turned into the business that you and I met through, which is leadership coaching. And then now I'm doing a bake shop business with my husband. So
Oh
there
my
you go.
gosh. So amazing. So cool.
Yeah.
Like, and it's clear. So, well, I was going to say, a lot of them are similar. Obviously the baking almost comes full circle to the childhood
Mm-hmm.
aspect. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but
Sweets.
I'm, yeah, but in that core middle, I mean, again, so much of it is coaching and just focusing on helping
Mm-hmm.
individuals from that, standpoint. I mean, really,
Uh-huh.
they're coaches the whole time. I mean, you're helping, supporting
Mm-hmm.
people through that process. I love that. And then transitioning to the bakery. I know we talked a little bit about it before we jumped on, but we got to get more of this because you created a six-figure business during a pandemic, and that needs to
Mm-hmm.
be discussed. So let's talk
Yeah,
about
I'm
that.
happy to share. So, well, I mean, long story short, like everybody else, we were like 2020, yes, this is a new decade, etc. And I had all this planned out, giant calendar and everything. And then come March, my husband actually is a chef. He's a sushi chef and a patisserie chef. And he actually was one in that first roll of people that got laid off, right? When the world started shutting down. And, we, at first I was like, oh, okay, so this is temporary. We just need to figure out. For me, it was really, it started with two things. Number one is that my friends quickly started saying, oh, look at this. Like you're home, your husband's home, and you've talked about building a gluten-free bake shop business for 8 years. So isn't this time to do it? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like we talked about, I built a business plan. I'm not sure I want to do that. Like that sounds like a lot of work. And then I started seeing my husband playing too many video games and zoning on the couch all day long. And I was like, dude, like I need to give it something to do. So that's how we started. And I thought, stopgap, like, we'll just do this for a little while and, collect unemployment or whatever until you like go back to work. Cause the whole world thought like 2 months, maybe tops, like, it'll be
Right.
fixed. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we started a gluten-free bake shop business, doing a once a week, deliveries in our neighborhood, actually is how we started it. And that kind of just grew and then exploded. And we ended up passing six figures before, well, we did six figures in 6 months and working only by that point, 3 days a week. And yeah, just really, it's just, there's so many things I could say.
So amazing. Well, so you mentioned like there was an explosion. So like what was the explosion? Like what do you give credit to what made that happen?
Well, I would say it was one product, and it's still the thing that's driving. It's the thing that has a wait list of 1,200 people that we are still trying to fulfill. Like it's crazy pants. And it's, are you a foodie or on Instagram at all? Do you follow that stuff?
I
I
don't,
don't know.
but I do love food, but I don't follow them that much because I try not to get hungry while I'm scrolling through my news feed.
Well, that's probably better. I am the sucker for all the things online, all the food stuff. Is like my whole feed is full of puppies and food. And so there was this little phenomenon happening in the West Coast, started kind of San Francisco area, and then started moving down, and it's called the Mochi Donut. Do you know what a Mochi Donut is?
No.
Oh yeah. Well, here I actually have one to show you.
Oh
They
my
don't
gosh.
all. So here's one right here.
Oh,
So
love it.
this is a small version. So it's Emoji Donut actually is a donut. Halfway is slow,
Yeah, it
but
looks kind of
made.
like it looks kind of, for those of you who are listening, it looks kind of like almost like a wreath style
Yeah.
like shape.
Yes. Yes. Well, okay. So first of all, qualify. Mochi Donut actually, what makes a difference with a regular donut and this is that it uses a glutinous wheat rice flour instead of wheat flour. I mean, now some caveat, a lot of people mix in wheat flour with this. We don't, because I'm gluten-free. So it has this ubiquitous kind of chewiness to it that's not necessarily in a regular yeast donut or a cake donut. And the thing is that, the thing that got famous are these little, they call it the plum flower look. I know you guys can't watch this, but they're actually made of these little balls, if you see. And so the fun thing is to separate these little balls. I'm like demonstrating for Nick right now.
Yeah, well, it's great. They look
these
kind of like Dunkin', like almost like donut holes, but it's like one full. It's like a bunch of donut holes all together
in a ring. That's right. Yeah. So yes. So now you can have a Mochi Donut that doesn't look like this. This is just what became popular.
Gotcha.
And for me, in lockdown, full lockdown now, I'm like looking at this and thinking like, oh my God, I want that. If I wasn't in lockdown, I would have flown already to San Francisco and bought my 2 dozen and eaten them for dinner. And I couldn't. And then plus, I'm celiac. And so I can't eat most of the Mochi Donuts because most people actually like mix together. So to like add just enough to make it kind of chewy. So what did I do? I went to my husband and said, honey, can you make me Mochi Donuts? And he's like, what's that? And I try to show him the videos. And he's like, okay. And I was like, oh, no. But like, I really want a Mochi Donut. And he's just like, well, okay. I mean, because like the thing is that my husband does make me amazing gluten-free food. Don't get me wrong. It's just, I think he wasn't really into it yet. But I knew, I was like, I can't stop watching these videos of people eating Mochi Donuts. And I found some recipes and finally we started making them. And when I posted on my personal Instagram, because I wasn't like thinking because we were doing breads and muffins and things, for gluten-free people, I never thought a Mochi Donut would be the thing. So when I posted on my personal Instagram, like boom, exploded. Everyone's like, where'd you get that? Was that from Austin? Wait, that looks different. What flavor is that? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, we just made them like at home. And everyone's like, oh, can I buy some? And so I was like, oh, sure. Yes, I think, and so I wrote my tiny list of like 30 people and I sent the pictures and I said, hey, this is what we made. And does anybody want some? And like instantly 2 people sent me money. And I was like, oh, I think we have something here. So then we opened up orders for the next week and then like sold out like instantly. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And then literally within like that first buy, the Austin foodie community caught on. So that's what happened. Like that, it's because it was already trending on Instagram in the foodie circles and no one else in Austin has them. No one else in Austin makes them. And that's how we exploded. It just like started word of mouth and then it was the Instagram and then boom, all the like foodie Instagram influencers started like ordering them from us. And normally those guys get paid to like promote food, right? These guys were like, we had like within the first week, we had like a 2-month long wait list for our Mochi Donut. So that's
amazing.
Kind of really how it happened.
That is so incredible, and it just goes to show you too, you just never know what's going to happen when you're willing to start something, to do something. You mentioned it was, the 8-year dream and you're like, all right, well, the stars are kind of aligning. I guess we have to do this. And then something like this happens that's just completely unexpected and boom, amazing.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely more to the story. Like we were pretty much like growing our gluten-free only business. Actually, everything we make is gluten-free. So this is gluten-free too, but we had already by word of mouth, like had 20x our gluten-free business income just by word of mouth. Like, and this is all during lockdown because, delivery food was the thing, right? And we started it too because that was when there was no yeast and people were running out of flour and like you can't buy bread and toilet paper. Remember that? Yeah, it feels like a long time ago. But that was the worst for gluten-freers because the supply chain cut off. So my husband started making breads for me and then we became the supplier for people in Austin. So that's why we are already growing that. And then we added the Mochi Donut. And when we launched it, it was actually right. We launched it partly too because it was right after we made them earlier, like in May, but we really fully launched it after the protests because that period of time was really personally rocked us pretty hard. And actually we were affected. That's a whole nother story. We still get affected. We get harassed a lot by people who are not happy that we're in business and not white. That's another story. And so, for us, we're like, we need joy right now. Like this year, it's so heavy. And like, I watched these Instagram videos and reels and all the stories on like eating these mochi donuts. It makes me happy, and I haven't eaten one yet, and now I have them. So why can't we share them? And so we started on the back of like, we are going to be sharing and delivering joy in a box. And that has been the heart of our mission. And that's really also what's carried like, just the community that we've built around our business, which that's a whole nother amazing side effect of doing this business.
Well, right, and I think that it's a side effect and a cause I mean, it's so many things in
Mm-hmm.
a community because I mean, business can and should be about community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And obviously something like this that's like localized is going to be even more community based.
Mm-hmm.
But man, that is just so fascinating. And like you said, you were already growing before the donut,
Mm-hmm.
which is incredible. You
Mm-hmm.
mentioned to me before we jumped on that you were like, we did everything from a lean standpoint. And I'm curious if
Mm-hmm.
you could kind of elaborate on some of the key things that have kept you, almost like because for me, lean is like you were working smarter, not harder, and you did the minimum to be able to do this. So I'm just curious on what were some of the tactics and things. And I don't always usually talk about Mark, but I'm just so intrigued. We have to talk
Oh
about
yeah,
this.
no, let's go there. Yeah, well, so let me give you a little bit more background. So prior to then stepping out and doing the iteration of business that I went you through, is that I was actually not only consulting with, but I was working in-house with some of the hottest tech startups in the United States. They're all about lean startup, just like that book. And come to find, because of my background growing up in an entrepreneurial family business, also having a huge like background in nonprofit work, and my master's also is in nonprofit management and leadership, that I already was built to build lean, and so then you like add fuel to it by doing lean startup style. And the role that I was in was all about massive explosion of business growth. Like I would build, like, I would take $100 million company and take it to 500 million, on track for 1 billion. Like that was the kind of work that I was doing before. And so same concepts. And it is work smarter, not harder. But the one caveat and difference, I would say that for what I've learned over the years, and then what we're doing that I feel like is truly working, is being very, 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 very committed to our values. And the core of our values is it spreading joy, right? Is it creating joy, spreading joy, cultivating joy, joy? Joy is the big part for internally and externally. The second is putting family and health first. And like I said, before we jumped on in the kind of virtual green room, is that one of the best things about last year from this business I'm so grateful for is that we were able to design a business that supported the life that we wanted, that really was about repairing and restoring our marriage. And to do that, one of the biggest problems for us was the scarcity of time. Like we just did not have enough time together, because he'll get off work, come home, by the time he shower, it's midnight, like, droning on in front of the TV before we go to bed. For him to wake up at the crack and do it all over again meant we didn't have any quality conversations. We didn't really have dates. We didn't, because he was a chef working crazy hours. And then, so what did that happen? I'm already a workaholic too. And, I went from working in tech startups, 100-hour weeks, plus running a consulting business because my husband's indisposed anyways. Yeah, we were just like, our bodies are worn out, our hearts are worn out, and we wanted to prioritize like a business model, like prioritize our time to heal both our bodies and our hearts, with a business model and a structure that put that first, really. And so committing to slim down, very focused, tested and retested and iterated menu items, being really committed to kind of almost like, and I would say this is what's a little bit different, is that we totally did it on our terms. Like we have to take orders by this day of the week. We're only going to deliver from this time to this time on this day. Done. Like no exceptions. And when we did that, the interesting thing was is that because normally you're like, oh yeah, I can do that. Oh yeah, I can accommodate. Oh yeah, I can do this. There's always exceptions, right? But being fierce with our boundaries and then having those boundaries be a part of the business model that we are building to restore us first is what really has been, I feel like, the biggest part of why we've been able to grow and also not burn out, because like food businesses, you can burn out so quickly. Um, and because we're restoring both our bodily health and our heart health, our marriage, our communication, doing things that, really fuel us again. Like we love nature, we love getting out, we love like doing fun things. And that's what's fueled new creation of products. That's what's inspired new ideas. That's what gets us engaged with our community through social media. And we get told over and over and over, people are like, oh, we love your products, but we love you. Like, because we're showing up like totally showing up 100%. Like we're there's no veil. There's no like polished anything. Like, we like screw up projects in the kitchen and we're showing them like, look how fugly that is, haha. And, and people love that. Like they're like watching for us to like fail forward, and letting us laugh at ourselves and getting their feedback. And it's a whole like foodie experiment together, and that's what we're doing, and we're growing and we're sharing that ethos with them. So yeah, I
Love
don't
it.
know, there's no like breakdown science. If there's like a breakdown part, it's number one, it's like, what do you absolutely 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 believe in, and then build around that.
Love it.
Yeah.
So amazing. So I first want to say thank you for, being willing and open to share that, because I know that's personal information. So
Mhm.
thank you so much for that. And I think it's awesome to hear because, COVID did bring a lot of marriages and people both
Mhm.
having to look people are looking at themselves and also looking at their relationships because they didn't
Mhm.
have all these other things to distract them. They were laid off. They didn't have football or these going out to
Mhm.
distract them, and people had to look inward. And so it's
Mhm.
so cool to hear that through this that you were able to create something amazing and create something that not only improved your family and relationship, but again building the life of your dreams that you wanted. Because
Mhm.
even you talking about your successful business, I mean, to have that only goes so far when if your husband's
Mhm.
not involved in it. And
That's right.
so for you to be able to do this is so cool. And I loved you talking about like just joy being the fundamental aspect and building this community. And you touched on too, people like your stuff, but really they like you. And that's no surprise, talking with you and when I first met you. So there's no surprise for me there. But it's people do business with who they know they like and they
Mhm.
trust. And that's a thing, like when you build up your community and you build up people, no matter what
Mhm.
business that you have, you create this environment of people who want to support you. They want to cheer you on. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
what you do, even if it's something that's not relevant to them and they're like, well, I don't even like gluten-free desserts, but I'm going to support you and share your stuff anyway because I like you.
Mhm.
And so like that's just the beauty of what can happen when we focus on that community and the joy of that message in line with your business.
Exactly. And like to be honest, everything that, like I said, I just spent or I said earlier, I spent the last week like really evaluating last year and thinking about how to cultivate an environment that would really help us explode in the way that we're meant to explode, not and explode according to, I want to be like whatever X fill in the blank business, like they grew in 1 year kind of thing. It's more like, no, what is the way that we are meant to grow? right? And being so happy with that. And I realized, and I don't know how much you know about the Enneagram, but I'm an Enneagram 7 and I'm starting to really own that. Um, and because I really thought I was something else for a long time. And Enneagram 7s love experiences, or enthusiasts, or like just really love gathering people. And like, that's just me, you know? And two, because we're all about joy, like I realized that we really needed to create a structure. Like, I mean, basically what I'm doing is called, I heard, because I hear these like, messages or, phrases, and I heard build rhythms of rest so that you can have freedom to flow. And one of those things had to do with, one of the rhythms was joy generators. And because if we are meant to spread joy and we're creating things for joy, and we really believe that like each and every product, like we truly like, if we're mad or in a fight, because trust me, you guys don't think that we had like some blissful rekindling of our marriage and like everything's all like awesome. Like we have had some of the worst fights this last year that we've ever had. But that comes with trying to build new things with your spouse. I'll tell you a real story, real talk. But at the same time, like we just feel energetically like it's in everything, like in the air we breathe, and the things that we say, like our disposition, and that transfers to things like even food. And so we really try to like put in the love and the joy and the clean, good energy into what we're doing. And if we are not in that place of joy, and we are not in that place of peace, and we don't feel the love, like we can't transfer that to the food that's going to then spread. And so joy generators, like I realized, oh man, I really need to like prioritize that in our like weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly like life, as a lifestyle, as a rhythm, as like a circular continual rhythm pattern, because that's going to help us generate and be inspired so that we can spread joy. And it's not like we stand for joy, and so we're going to do something joyful, or here's a joyful meme, or like joy jam music, let's just jam it out. No, it's like it's got to come from someplace deeper. And so that's how we're doing it.
I love that. I love that. And I think that's so important with everything that we do. It's that level of the energy that we put out. If you are truly embodying that joy that people are going to resonate with, people would be able to tell if it was fake joy. It's just
Mhm.
there's an energy, there's a level, things that people can feel. And I love that you almost like, again, figuring out what brings you joy so that you
Mhm.
can then bring it into the business, which is
Mhm.
in many aspects, somebody may see that as the opposite. Like, oh, I need to have a successful business so I have lots of money and then I can do stuff that what that makes me happy. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, you're totally reverse engineering this in that, hey, if you want to really make your business successful, start by making yourself happy. And then the rest of the things will all fall into place.
That's exactly right. I'm so glad that you saw that. Is that I just feel like there's a lot of things, and that's a whole nother thing. But last year, I feel like I deprogrammed and detoxed from so many formulas and kind of best practices for success and achievement that I had subscribed to for majority of my life, and I'm 45. So as I was doing that, I realized like, oh, we're actually doing it backwards. Like creators create from the inside out. And so if you want to create from the inside out, that requires for the inside to be in a good place. If you want to create some good stuff, and you need that energy. Like, I mean, I get it. Like I even have a Post-it here that is part of one of my commitments to this year is like no longer fueled by anxiety. I realized that I mean, I'm a high achiever. Okay. So like addicted to success. I was that person, like can't stop until I'm number one girl in everything. But I realized that so much of that was fueled by a mentality of not enough, or just almost FOMO. There was fear around it. a like, I'm not going to be accepted even to myself, or like, I'm going to be left behind. Like, those things, I get it. It's fueled, and it's fueled a lot of my success. I'm not going to tell you it doesn't work, but there's something so different about being fueled not by that. And that's what we're running on now. And I feel like that has really been a crucial part of how and why we've attracted such an incredible community, incredible fortune, amazing ideas that honestly I could never, I mean, and I'm a master planner, trust me. I can plan everything. But there are things that just have landed in our lap that you can just not, it's just, yeah. And I
I
really do attribute it to like having that switch happen.
Yeah. Oh, I love it because there's some great analogies from, and even associating it with the bakery, like fuel. What is it, the fuel that embodies us, and, what we're
Hmm.
putting in affects everything that we do.
Yep.
And the
Hmm.
association of that with food often happens,
Hmm.
in that what we eat is going to then project on how well we're able to perform and how well we're going to be able
Hmm.
to feel. And so again, it's like that
Hmm.
concept of you found this new fuel. Like, it's like, oh well,
Yeah.
actually we're gonna run our cars on plants now, and it's gonna be super easy, and it's gonna run way better than we ever thought
Oh
could have
yeah.
possible. So
Yeah.
it's so cool. It's so cool to, just injecting and switching and using this
Hmm.
newfound fuel of joy to insert that into your business, which inserting it to many more people and all of your customers and your supporters. And because again, it is more than customers, it's
Hmm.
everyone. It's this community that you're
Hmm.
building, and that is just incredible, absolutely incredible.
Yeah. 100,000%. So I had this light bulb moment that elite top athletes, and I know you can relate because you're an athlete, and I was too. Like back in my day, I was actually like junior Olympics in taekwondo. Like I did theater and musical theater and danced all day long. And but I just like, I remember reading this article actually about Michael Phelps. Sad where he's at now, but I get it. Um, is that just the constant visualization of standing on the platform, of like doing the time, swimming and doing the time that you wanted, like over and over, and the focus was on attaining what's possible, what they wanted, right? Instead of focusing on what's not possible or what you haven't done yet. Kim Yona did the same. I'm sure like this is just a methodology for all elite athletes. And that, going back to what I was saying about no longer fueled by anxiety, I realized that, oh, wait a second. Why am I like constantly putting a fire under my butt to think that's going to make me run faster, when what's proven by world class athletes is the opposite, which is really the positive of like attaining what you actually want, right? So it's like what are you putting on the inside and what are you cooking on the inside? And yeah, I dare say that, like, dreaming about what's possible and cultivating the like the good vibes, the positive vibes, the high vibes, all that, you want to call it that way. um it's just a different kind of fuel. It's a super fuel.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly, what we put out comes back to us.
That's right.
And, and that same level of like focusing on what we want, not what we don't want, and
Hmm.
realizing, hey, how can we truly effectively make this happen? Okay, well, let's like, what's my best self looking like? What's how are they going
That's
to
right.
show up? What energy are
Hmm.
they going to bring into this? And just starting to do that, again, and what you said earlier is like working backwards, and
Hmm.
again, working from within. And we just try and control these outside factors, like, oh, well, if I figure out and master Facebook ads, or, if I get way more customers, or I get featured on this, then all of a sudden, then I'll be, super popular, and the business will grow, and I'll be amazing, and then I'll be happy, instead of, being able to focus on ourselves, when you're happy, then everything else just starts to come to you and it becomes easy. I mean, wouldn't it be, isn't that amazing? Oh, wouldn't it be great? What do you want? You want to work really hard and get no results and be really upset,
Mhm.
or love your life, be grateful for it, and then things just start coming to you? It's like, which one sounds better?
Yeah, right. I know. One sounds way more fun and it totally works. The other thing I want to add is too, like really focusing on strengths. So, I like, what's the way to put it? So another piece of my background is like, I was also in competitive choral music, and even in theater. What you do is, I feel like with especially entrepreneurship, and when you're starting as a solopreneur and all that, there's this, um, especially Americans, and I'm American, is that it's a DIY thing has kind of gone haywire a little bit. And I'll explain what I mean is that, um, so in choral music or even in theater, when you try to put on a production, you actually cast people and you hire people with different talents, right? You focus on people who do lighting well, or focus on that person who knows how to carry that range of, song, right? Or they fit the part. They're not trying to be the one person that's going to direct the show, run the show, be the stage manager, be the sound crew, the light crew, and all the things, which is a lot like entrepreneurship, especially in the beginning. And then you're so busy taking all the classes and trying to like figure out how to do it, right? Whereas if you focus on the thing that your superpower, so to speak, what do you do best? And then you find where, like in our case with my husband, like I'm like, what, and not just what do you do best, it's like what gives you joy that you do best, right? Especially because multi-talented, multi-passionate people can have learned how to do a lot of things well. Or The Big Leap is another way to put it. If you've read that book, have you read the book by a
I
guy
have
named Growth?
not read that book, but I have heard of
Oh,
it.
gotta read it. It's
Yeah,
great.
add that to
He
my
talks
list.
about zone of genius, zone of excellence, zone of competence, zone of incompetence. Those are the four top being the zone of genius. I think there are a lot of people who think there's a lot of people who have a lot of zone of competence. There's a lot more people, there's people who also have a lot of zone of excellence. But a zone of genius is really maybe one or two things, period. But and I would speak for myself, is that I realized I capitalized a lot on my zone of excellence because I just am a crazy person who have to become an overnight expert and excellent in everything I do. But when I focus on my zone of genius, and that place gave me joy, and that's what my husband and I constantly check on, and then build a business that then can focus on those things, and you find the very key people. Like I'm literally only focused on the 5% that does the 95%. So I push, you know, I push that 80-20 to that Pareto principle to 5% truly. And in that 5% is the place I am the zone of genius that gives me joy. For him, zone of genius that gives him joy. What's part of that 5% that's going to do 95%? And you hire for that. You hire for that, or you find people that are going to do that for you because like I'm using so many metaphors, I hope people can follow, but like, it's kind of like saying like, hey, if I am the principal or I'm the director of the show, um, and that's my zone of genius and that gives me joy, my husband is the stage manager, then we need to find the like exact number of people like that's only required to do the show. Like we need a lead, right? We need a lead person who's going to be on stage. And that's not going to be me. That's not going to be him. Done. That's as lean as you can get. And that's what we're doing. And I feel like when I'm doing that, it keeps me in my joy. I don't get frustrated. I don't like get bogged down. And you focus on the strengths. You focus on your zone of genius. Like that's it. Done.
Love it. Yeah, it's so important. I think there's a lot of, different people are like, oh, get better at your weaknesses, or there's
Mhm.
those are the kind of two schools of thought where it's like, hey, go all in on your strengths or get better
Mhm.
at your weaknesses. And I think that, again, going all in your strengths, because again, you can find people to do the things that you're not good at. I know for
Mhm.
me, I talk about video and I'm like, don't try and edit your videos. Like, you're just not
Yeah.
going to be as good as someone else. I'm like, I'm better at video editing than you, and I don't do it
Mhm.
myself. So why should you try
Right.
and figure it out? It's like, hey, just be willing to invest in these other things, because when you are focused on your zone of genius, then the revenue is going to be there to
Mhm.
come after. But you have to be willing to give up those things and really figure out what is your zone of genius. Do you have any advice for somebody really figuring out what is their number one zone of genius?
Mm. I would say that, so many people have different ways to say it. And for me, the way I figured it out, well, first of all, pick up that book, The Big Leap. I know for me, like, it was a fast read, but it just really made it click for me because, and especially if you're listening to this and you're just like you said, like, I could do video editing better than you, and I'm not really a video editor. If you've ever said that before, you need this book. And then here's what you do. The gauge, and I feel like I keep saying the same word, and it's this joy word, but it's true. It's the thing that you just do with your eyes closed. It like takes like no sweat off your back. Seriously. Like, it's just kind of like, what? You can't do that. And then it just, like, I don't know, it's like magic happens and you just feel so energized by it. And, like, I don't know, there's some kind of magic you feel in it. Um and it's effortless, and you do it really excellently without having to, like, being that nitpicky perfectionist coming out and making sure you're doing it excellently. Does that make sense? Like, there's something really effortless about it, and that is your zone of genius. And, like, and if you aren't like, it's not like a, yeah, I did it. It's more like a, woo, I'm I'm awesome. Like, that, what, that was so easy. What are you talking about? That's my zone of genius. That's your zone of genius right
I
there.
I love that. And thinking about it too, because again, I'm reflecting on myself, and I think I knew this already, but when you kind of explained it further, it just connected on a deeper level. In a previous episode, I talked about how I created my dream life, and it started, one of the big moments in my life was when I spoke on stage for the first time. And that was a total, like,
Yeah.
just such an exhilarating feeling for me to, and technically it wasn't the first time ever, because I spoke in school. I even went into a competition one time, where we presented, but there was no audience. It was like, just the judges. But when I went up for the first time and I spoke and I came off the stage, somebody snapped a picture of me. And so I just envisioned it, because there was this,
Mhm.
and I mean, there's like a glow in the picture when you look at it, of me
Mhm.
feeling. I remember my brother commented on the picture. He's like, mic drop, because that was how I felt. Like, I just came off the stage like, this is where I belong. And I told my
Oh.
employers, I was like, I need to speak at every single event. Like, I want to speak at every single event. I want to speak more. I want to speak like
Mhm.
2 time. I just wanted more. And I think, what it comes down to is like coaching and teaching. And like, that's my zone of genius. I can
Mhm.
do it when I'm out with my friends. I mean, I did some coaching with my friend. She was debating like whether or not she wanted to go surfing. And I just asked her a few questions. And next thing you know, she's running out there. So it's like those little things that are so clear to me in how we're figuring
Mhm.
that out. And again, it circles back to, that brings me so much joy to do
Mhm.
that. So
Yes.
why not focus and only do the things that you love to do in your business? And if you don't have those things, maybe you're not in the right business, because there should be things in your
Mhm.
business that you absolutely love. There's always going to be things that maybe you don't like, or things that happen, but
Mhm.
how we spend our time, you know there's so many people out there, and this is different from the entrepreneurial world, but the people who
Mhm.
just go through work, go through the motions, hating their job. And it's
Mhm.
like, hey, there's this amazing opportunity. Find what you love and figure out a way to maybe get paid for it. Because
Mhm.
that's such a beautiful, beautiful thing that I hope everyone challenges themselves
Yes.
to do and find.
Yes, exactly. And here's the thing too is here's another indicator. After you do your genius zone, whatever magic you do, you're never drained. You're energized.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So like
amazing.
if you were just like you did it and you're like, dang, that was so hard, but I did it and I'm awesome. Like, no, that wasn't it. It's gotta feel like 13 hours passed and you had no idea and you were just like, give me more. Like I could do this all day long, like wet sleep, like this is awesome. This is better than whatever, magic potion you can ever drink. Yeah. That's how you should feel. So what you described, I was like, you found it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I do love that kind of analysis of really seeing it. And again, it's like, how can we bring that on? That being energized at the things that we're doing. If you're not doing something that's energizing you and everything that you seem to do is draining, then okay, well, there should be a shift. You
Mhm.
shouldn't. And there's a lot of things to always like analyze. I mean, I was talking to one of my health friends and it was like, hey, I've been going for a run, but I'm tired. And it was like, oh, well, I just need to drink more water and do these things, like basic kind of fundamental things to make sure that I'm not being
Yeah.
drained by things. There's a reason why running and exercise
Right.
energizes you. It's the same analogy here, that when you're doing things that excite you and you're doing things that are good for you, good for the soul, good for your body, good for your mind, it's
Mhm.
gonna energize you, it's gonna
Mhm.
feed you so that you can keep going, and you want to keep going, and someone's got to drag you away from the computer, if that's what
Yeah.
you do.
Or wherever you are,
Yeah,
it
wherever
doesn't
you
even
are.
have to be the computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, here some practical things. I know some people are like, maybe listening, going, "Well, is it this or this?" Or "I'm not sure," or whatever. And I don't know about you. I'm a big fan of all of the kind of assessments that are out there. And when you're a leadership coach, you're kind of trained and versed and use all of them. Um, but I like I just sometimes you can take one called the Clifton Strengths Finders. Like you can take one called the Strengths Finders, and what it does is 34 quote strengths that you do an assessment, and it shows you what your top quote 5 strengths are. Now that doesn't mean you don't exhibit the other ones, or that it's always number one or whatever, but that might be a helpful way for you to sort of sift through all the multi-talented ways that you've rocked everything that you've become an overnight expert in doing, and trying to sift through like what really lights your soul on fire, and what is your genius zone. I think that's a big one. Yeah, like for example, like my top number one always comes up for me. You're not supposed to take more than once, but I did. It's learner. So like, I can, man, I always said this, if someone wants to pay me to learn all day long, like that's my dream job, but I don't, I always say like, you can be a freaking amazing at something, but if it doesn't contribute something to the world, then I'm not sure that that's the one that you want to focus on, right? Like I can be the most, like, I can maybe be like whistle. I guess you can do that. But anyways, something that can contribute to the world. But my second one flip flops, and it's ideation or it's strategic. Those are my two. And they have weird names for these, whatever. But ideation and strategic, when those two come alive for me, oh man, like I mean, I call, like people call me idea machine. Like I can just like all day long, blah blah blah. And what about this? And do this. Oh wait, and then I like put the strategy together with it, and I'm just like roll it out, and people are like, whoa, where did that come from? I'm like, I don't know, but it was fun. You want to do it again? Like that's me. That's my genius zone. So I help unleash that part of me, and so there's a part of you that needs some unleashing. And it's your genius, probably your genius zone. Yeah.
Love that. Oh my gosh, so powerful. This was so impactful. I love everything that we discussed. This was so cool. I'm going to do a little recap here. So first off, the amazing serial entrepreneur from selling candy bars, walking around, to your life coaching business and transitioning and your leadership, and then into the bakery, which is so cool. I mean, to grow as fast as you did during a pandemic, and then having the donut to then take you to another level, because I wanted to make sure too that like you were already crushing it before that happened, and then boom, it just helped you
Mhm.
explode even more, which I think is just so incredibly impressive to do during a pandemic, and at the same time being able to rekindle a marriage and rekindle a relationship and improve your community. And it all started with your commitment to your core values, which was bringing on the joy, just having that joy and that fundamental aspect, and how you can continue to fuel yourself utilizing that joy. And there was one thing I wanted to comment on. We didn't dive into it much, but I love that you shared it, that I wrote down. And you mentioned fail forward. And I think that is just such a powerful message. Not only are you failing forward, but you were talking about showing it. You're like, oh my gosh, look at all these fugly donuts that we made, and people are loving that because they're seeing the mistakes, they're seeing the behind the scenes. And I feel like especially in the foodie world, from what I know, it's like, oh my gosh, you gotta have this perfect picture.
Mhm.
And so to share that kind of thing, I think is so awesome. It's like, hey, behind the scenes, behind the bakery, behind the curtain, there's things going on that aren't all sunshine and rainbows, but you just keep moving forward, you fail forward. And I love that again, talking about that fuel of joy and that being your superpower, and finding your superpower, and finding that zone of genius. Just truly incredible. So many impactful notes. And again, I appreciate you opening up and sharing. I mean, this was so awesome. Thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Oh, thank you for inviting me and letting me share. Like I mean, I'm kind of an open book, and I love that. If there's anything that I have shared here that's gonna spark aha, like that's all I can say. Be thankful for. Like that's it. Like,
Yes.
thanks for listening. Yeah.
Love it. And then I'd love to ask this too. And I know you mentioned a few books. You briefly mentioned the Lean Startup, which, interesting enough, that was a book that I started, and then I don't know, the audio didn't
It's
suck
it's
me
a
in.
dry book. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
dry
I
book.
couldn't, I didn't finish it, and I was okay
Mhm.
with not finishing it. But
Don't have to finish it.
yeah, okay, cool. The Big Leap, though, you mentioned that, which I've seen that before. People have recommended that, so I know. And the cover enough, right? It's like the goldfish jumping into like
Fish.
the
Yep,
bigger
that's
one. Yeah.
right. Hmm.
So I definitely want to get my hands on that. Is there any other book for you that was super impactful and influential?
Oh yeah. I mean, well, I don't know if you know this about me, but I read like probably 3 or 4 books a week. So I'm like a voracious reader,
Wow.
especially when it comes to self development, leadership, business. Like I'm a nonfiction book like gorger. So in fact, actually, like I haven't updated it for this year, but I have a list of 30 must read leadership books for entrepreneurs, like a whole list for that. I can share a link if you'd like.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think
yeah.
yeah, I remember, I accessed that, I think, at one point when we had first met. I think I had reached out to you,
Oh,
which
yeah.
obviously that
Yeah.
was a
I need
year
to
and a half
update
ago.
it. Yeah, because I always read the latest ones and then I'm like, oh, nope, this is better. But I will tell you, can I sneak in 2 books?
Yes, no one can ever do one, and it's the funniest thing. It's the
I
best,
mean,
honestly.
if I could be like spout 10 books for you right now
You
and
know
just be
what?
like,
It
this,
seems to be a common thing. Maybe I should just switch the question, but generally
yeah.
everyone's seen
But one,
3.
there's one book I will
3.
say, if there is, oh God, that's so hard. Okay, well, but I'm gonna say this book because most people don't know about this book.
Okay,
And
low key. All right,
I'm
love
like,
it.
it is game change, game
I
changer.
want it
Like,
already.
where was this book? Like, and it's okay, God's timing, whatever. Simon Sinek has a new book called The Infinite Game. Get it, get the audiobook, get the book, take notes. It is blow my mind good. Have you read it? Have you read it?
I just realized that I think that was one that I started, and
You didn't finish it?
I think I was listening to it before I moved, and so I just got a little like switched
Oh
on because I
man.
love Simon Sinek. I oh like Leaders Eat Last. I mean, Start with Why. I
Yeah.
reference that book all the time, but
No,
I'm
but
just
this one
thinking
is way more heady. So that's why I think not everybody can hang with it. I would recommend listening to like search him on podcasts, and he does an interview. I think the one that I really like, the one I really like the most is Gone. But there was one he does with Franklin Covey. I think it's no, there's a the Ken Blanchard leadership podcast. He does an interview there that talks about everything from this book. After you listen to that, you will smooth sail right through the book because he breaks it down in a way that's just like, yes, like, oh my gosh, like, where were you? And then when you start reading it and then he breaks it down, it's just like, I don't know, your worldview for what are the criteria for success just changes entirely. You look at the world completely differently. I know for me, it was like, oh my God, thank God there's another way to like think about success, because I last year for me was breaking up with the achiever in me, breaking up with success and all the definitions of success. I was like, you're not working for me anymore. It's me, not you, it's me. And when I was redefining it, and when I read this book, or when I heard that podcast, then I read the book, I was just like, like, really? Yeah, it is the infinite game. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go grab the book, go listen to the podcast, and then grab the book. It's game changing.
love it. Yeah, I may
Yeah.
just restart it anyway because I don't think I was
Yeah.
that super far in if I remember correctly. And again, I love Simon Sinek, but maybe I need to start with this podcast first before I
Do the
pay
podcast first,
attention.
promise me. I was just like, preach! Like, I was so like, what? Like,
Oh,
because
I
he's
love a
so
good preach.
passionate. Yeah, I was so passionate and like explaining it. And I don't know, maybe it's the nerd in me too. Like, but yeah. Yeah. Can I sneak in one more?
Absolutely.
Okay. Oof. Of all of them, oh God, which
The
one?
way I
Okay, so
try
I'll
to
just
ask
go
is like,
with,
what's a book that you often recommend to somebody else? Like if some, it's like the one that you gift, the one that I don't know if that helps.
oh, well, so individualization is also one of my top strengths, which means that I won't give the same book to every single person, because I will
Gotcha.
always behold that person and exactly what they need to read. So that's a hard question. So I will say, I'll talk about one that was probably like really just so good for me last year, especially during the pandemic, which is Brene Brown's. I'm looking over here because my bookshelf's over
Yeah,
here.
no, I figured.
Brene Brown's Rising Strong, and I would get the audiobook. I love her voice. I love her cadence. Her delivery just makes a big difference. But Rising Strong, especially this year, after a year like last year, after the January we've had, Rising Strong is literally just that. It's like, how do you pick yourself back up after you've fallen on the floor, like face down, fall, fail, down in the dumps, like screw it all. How do you get back up? And how do you do it in a way that's not fueled by anxiety or like with a vendetta, or like, yeah, how do you do it authentically in a way that's going to make you better? Yeah.
Love it. Amazing. So cool. I love awesome recommendations, and the way that you talk about them like makes me want to skyrocket it to the top of my list, because
Oh yeah.
obviously I ask a lot of book recommendations, but that you can tell there's a different vibe by how some people talk about books, and I'm like,
Mm.
all right, well, I need to drop everything right now and like, hey, this podcast is over. I need to go read this book. That's how I feel. I hope
No,
other people
seriously.
feel.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't do recommendations lightly, because like I said, I read 3 to 4 books a week. I'm I'm a nonstop reader. And I'll tell you, like, I like, there are a lot of like, there's a lot of not, there's a lot of recycled garbage out there. Let's just put it that way. Don't read that stuff. Yeah. But like the things that are going to, it's kind of like, I read them all. So let me filter and give you something that's actually going to be original thought that's game changing that you won't get from any other book.
Love
That's
that.
how I recommend. Yeah.
Amazing. Cool. And then so lastly, what's the best place for somebody to connect with you, reach out to you, follow you?
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, normally I would say Instagram. I mean, so I have 2 Instagrams going, but my business quote unquote Instagram, I've been pretty silent. That's a whole nother soapbox. But so you can reach out to me on Instagram anytime. I'm with my bake shop, BOM. Bom means springtime in Korean. BOM Bake Shop, Bom Bake Shop. Some people say Bomb Bake Shop, which is totally cool with me. Is on Instagram. And then on my Instagram for the business, which is having a makeover this year, is Daringly Great Leadership. Yeah.
Love it.
So you can, I'm on Instagram all the time. Definitely reach out. Like I said, I'm about to do I'm changing all of it. And not changing, changing all of it. Like last year was a year of alignment, and I feel like there's so much that can be said and done in a way that's going to bless this world, that's not fueled by fear or anxiety or that kind of feeling, but like all the joy. So yeah.
Love it. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for all of your insights. This was just phenomenal. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you, listeners, for being here. I know that you got a ton of value and some action items to take on and find your zone of genius and make it happen and fill your life with joy. So get out there, make it happen. And remember, let's keep growing together.
Wait, one more thing. I would first like to say thank you. Thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this message, please take a moment to write a review. By writing a review, it helps people find this message and helps me help more people. And if you really, really liked it and you think this message could help someone else, take a screenshot, share it on Instagram, and please tag me at Nick J. Boni, NickJBoni, so I can show my appreciation for you. We can all win by helping each other grow. Thank you. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.